So, evolutionary theory. Anybody want to take a guess on the guy that is responsible for the theory of evolution? Should be a name familiar. Yes, ma'am. Charles Darwin. Okay. Charles Darwin was born in England in 1809. Just like Gregor Mendel was the father of genetics, we could say that Charles Darwin was the father of evolution. In 1831, he was asked to join a 5-year voyage on the HMS Beagle, which is a ship. Okay, make sure that we're paying attention up here. Okay? And I'm recording this. Others suggested that evolution was a possibility, but nobody had really done any of the field work for that or offered any explanations or evidence of how or why evolution could be a thing. I want to make it very clear, and I want you to write this down. I'm not going to write it down because I have very limited board space, but a scientific theory is different than a theory, okay? If it's raining out, or if there's a puddle outside, I might, infer that it rained last night, and that would be my theory. I theorized that it rained last night. However, a scientific theory is a well-established scientific explanation of events in the natural world. So when people are like, oh, that's just a theory. No, it's a scientific theory with oogles and boogles of observable evidence. Oogles and boogles is a science term, by the way. And it's well established. People are aware of it. People know what's going on here. Okay? So it's very different from just a theory. It's a scientific theory, well established, researched, and lots of observational data there. Okay? Darwin has made many observations and documented them in the origin of species. Okay? He was not the only one to have documented observations that support the theory of evolution. He was, however, the first one to get it down on paper and get it published. Okay? I forget the other guy's name right now, but there was another guy that he was neck and neck with. But history remembers Charles Darwin. He developed the theory of biological evolution that offered a scientific explanation for the unity and diversity of life by proposing how modern organisms evolved through descent from common ancestors. Paying attention and not talking, please. Darwin made many observations during his journey on the HMS Beagle. What's the HMS Beagle? It's a ship. Okay? Did it stop recording?
No. It's a low battery.
Oh, okay, good. On the he decided to focus on patterns of diversity. He talked about how species vary globally, how species vary locally, and how species vary over time. Species vary globally. Species vary locally, and species vary over time. Okay? Let's look at those individually. Species vary globally. Darwin noticed that different yet ecologically similar species inhabited separate but ecologically similar habitats around the globe. So, the ostrich, the emu, the rhea, and the kiwi are all large flightless birds. However, they developed in very different parts of the world, but ecologically similar. Okay? The African ostrich evolved on the plains of Africa, and the Australian emu evolved in the outback of Australia. So, because of their similar environmental conditions, they evolved in a similar way. So species vary globally. Different species evolve in a similar way due to similar ecological and environmental factors. So, species vary globally. Different species, ostrich, emu, rhea, they look kind of similar, don't they? Large flightless birds. They evolved in a similar way because the environment was similar, even though on the globe they're in very different places, right? Okay. The next thing Darwin talked about is how species vary locally. Darwin noticed that different yet related species often occupy different habitats within a local area. And here, the example is the Galapagos Island turtles, tortoises, okay? This turtle, tortoise, has a very large domed shell, very high in the top, covered neck, shorter neck. This species has a raised shell where the neck is, an always extended neck, and they're physically kind of different, okay? Even though they developed in the same string of islands, very close to one another.
Mr. You're not gonna do the
That's okay.
It's not hard to say.
Pause it for a second.